All right, we are live. How's everybody doing? This is a weekly recap. I'm Alan Roberts. For those of you that, well, you're here every fucking day. But I have with me, I guess, Mike Hobart. Baz is going to be joining us too. We thought we'd bring in a few other people to talk about differences. Mike, tell everybody where they can find you, who you are, that sort of thing.
Yeah. So my background is going to be a little convoluted. I'll try to keep it concise. But for anybody that's interested in following along for the things that I like to rant about or write about specifically, my biggest presence is going to be on Twitter. The handle is just below my name if you're watching on screen. If you're listening, it's going to be at the Mike Hobart, and I emphasize the "the" as in there's two E's in it, so THEE Mike Hobart HOBART. And then I also have a Substack that is Just Hear Me Out. So for those that like to use Substack, it's justhearmeout.substack.com. And over there, I'll rant about. There's really no guiding or limiting principles on whatever I like to write about. I like to rant about my most successful article is talking about how economics has been suppressing the masculinity problem and contributing to what we're dealing with today. I rant about just general problems with America, including masculinity and economics. And I've also written about my difficulties or issues with, for example, caloric deficit training and aspects like that.
So what issues have you had with caloric deficit training?
I think it gets pushed a little bit too aggressively for individuals that are new to adopting a fitness routine. Because it can, for those that have tried it or those that are I went to college for exercise science. I've personal trained individuals occasionally throughout the years. Going into, I think the reason I have an issue with it is I think a lot of individuals kind of take it too far. Like there's caloric deficit training and then or caloric restrictive training. And then there's going into a deep deficit that a lot of individuals I've noticed try to engage in order to burn off as much fat as possible, but then they put themselves into such an extreme regimen routine that it makes it very difficult to adhere to the behavioral requirements, and then they end up breaking the trend or breaking the routine, and then they just rebound, put all the weight back on, and then they get stressed out and they get downtrodden, and that's the basis for it.
I would agree. I talk about that fairly often on my channel, where I believe that people fail, diets don't fail. That's diets don't fail. People fail to plan for what's going to happen after the diet. A diet works almost every time if you follow it. If you go into a caloric deficit and increase your caloric expenditure, and then all of a sudden, poof, you lose weight, right? But the problem is, and people are like, but I regained it. The diet failed. No, the diet didn't fail. It fucking worked. You lost the weight. You even admit you lost the weight. You just had to regain the weight. We were just in a state of society. You talked about the issue with masculinity and stuff like that. We're in a state of society where nobody wants to take responsibility for their shit.
Oh, preach.
I mean, it's such a ridiculous thing, where so many people my trauma and this and that, shut the fuck up. I'm not saying the trauma is not real, but I'm going to say just about everybody's been through shit. I think it's just this massive arrogance that people think that their trauma overrides other people's life issues.
Yeah. Well, and they use it as a crutch.
Oh my God, yeah. I mean, it becomes their whole ass personality. People introduce themselves by their what they feel that they are discriminated against or whatever. That's where the whole pronoun thing came from. I'm gonna tell you what I feel you should address me as. The fuck? You know what? I mean, I have. If you appear that way, I have no problem with that because I'm not that. I don't give a shit. But I just think that people they want to live in their trauma so much. They want to be anybody wants to be called they them. In my mind, you're being purposefully argumentative already off the basis, and then you're going to whine when somebody refuses to refer to you, or even accidentally doesn't refer to you as they or them, because frankly, it's not even grammatically correct. So it causes issues where there needs not be. It's the same thing with people that identify way too much with their race. People identify way too much with their race in society.
Yeah.
Because and that's an American thing. I don't know if you've been anywhere.
Yes.
It's an American thing where people do that. Black people in the UK are just people.
Yeah.
They're just fucking people. There's a lot more there's a lot more tendency around the world to be to identify more as your nationality, like what country you're in or from or grew up in, than there is your racial identity. You know,
Yeah.
That's a very American thing. We have a lot of American things that are actually the problem with America, frankly. You know,
you need to turn that into a slogan or a meme or a T-shirt.
well, it's so true. Like, I mean, like the concept are like the biggest problem we have in America right now is I think that some people forgot like what America is supposed to be. It's supposed to be individual liberty and freedom,
Yes.
right? Not mob rule or like everybody needs to do everything for everybody else. Like, fuck that shit. Like, take care of yourself, motherfuckers.
Yeah. Well, there's dude, there's so many different things that or opinions I have on the last couple of minutes that you've talked about. Like particularly like we could talk about like the pronoun nonsense and particularly the body positivity movement. Like,
Oh my God.
like just
familiar.
yeah, just the whole I'm this way. All of the external world needs to accept me in this way. It's like, no, that's not how reality works. That is not like you can feel whatever you want to feel, but if you are morbidly obese and you're claiming that, say, you're identifying as a man when you're a biological woman, like, no, that's not how it works. That is not how it works at all. Like reality is going to force correct you in a very painful manner.
Well, I mean, the reality slapback is what's going to happen. Like, not necessarily to transgender people. Like, I don't like true. There's a difference between true transsexuals and what we got and the fucking ridiculousness we got going on right now.
Yeah,
like there are people that know that they're transsexual, meaning that they normally have some sort of mental illness. Like Blair, I've interviewed Blair, and she even said she's like, it's a mental illness that makes my outward appearance as a female makes me feel better in my existence in the world. So I can be down with that. It's the people that are like, I'm a woman and they that a full ass fucking beard. Like, you're not even trying, like, but it's the same thing with, we talk like, I don't know if you, and by the way, for those of you that want to know this, we just met, like Baz sent him a link. We had never spoken before, but there's actually a documentary about the body positivity movement canceling me and my wife. Like,
really?
Yeah. It's on Tubi. It's called The Dark Side of Fat Acceptance. And this was before being canceled was cool. Like I argue all the time, like we were one of the original people canceled. Like they tested it on me and my wife because they not only did they go after us and all of our businesses, but anybody that clicked like on any of my posts, they'd like call that person's place of work and be like, well, they support a fat phobe and blah blah blah, all that stuff.
This whole cancel culture movement just needs to just kill it with fire. Like it needs to be done.
I agree. Like you're offended. Okay, be offended. What the fuck?
Yeah, great.
I mean,
well, and that's like bringing that up, dude. Like in college, I studied. I enjoyed studying philosophy and particularly ethics, and I think ethics needs to be something that is maybe not standardized, but it should be sought out by particularly a lot of parents. Because like when you study ethics, you get down to the nitty gritty, the rationale of offense itself. Offense is an eye of the beholder situation. Yeah. Like just because if you're offended, that is your fault. That is nobody else's fault. Like that's a wound that you're creating on yourself. And it's just like the whole cancel culture movement of like, I'm offended that this is your fault. You should like the rest of the world should correct you because I'm offended. It's like, no, that gets back to reality. Like that this doesn't work. Like if you're offended that a lion wants to eat you for dinner, great. The lion's still going to make you a meal.
One of the things I say all the time is reality exists. People just need to get there faster.
Yeah.
There he is.
What's up, guys? How are you
What's
doing?
up?
Are you ever going to be on time?
Listen, okay. Time, as Einstein himself once said.
And are you in a wind tunnel?
I am not. I had a fan blowing.
Okay.
because I work in South America, and so I'm used to having it on all day.
I got you.
Yeah. What are you wearing? It's like we switched. You're. I'm usually in a dress shirt, and now you're the one in the tank.
The air conditioning is set at like 76, and I was just outside, and it's like 95. So I stepped inside, and I was chilled. So
that's okay. That's fair.
I understand.
I'm glad you met Mike. Mike's the best. Love Mike. Shares a lot.
I thought I was the best bitch.
Okay.
Just got awkward quick.
I'm not really sure why you just made this about you, but I feel like, you know, there's a lot to extract from there.
We should go into that a little bit. Yeah.
He's the host. He's the host. It's his job to make it about him.
That's fair.
Very valid. It's very valid.
That's
valid.
fair. Mike, I'm sure you gave him the rundown. Expert on Bitcoin, has a lot of similar political views. Also, is just generally very fair and thinks for himself, which is why he's been skyrocketing in followers lately. So I thought he would be the perfect sort of.
I wouldn't call it skyrocketing. I think I piss off a lot of people. But I actually didn't even mention the Bitcoin background. That's something that like a lot of people just don't like touching.
Yeah,
on.
but you were on Zero Hedge, which is in the finance community a big deal. That's a big deal that he was published there. That's huge. So congrats on that. So yeah,
so we were actually he brought up the body positivity community, and I was telling him to look up the documentary about them trying to cancel me.
I've got it pulled up. I'm gonna watch that later tonight. I got it pulled up.
There's a full-on documentary. There's actually some people in the chat that were they tried to cancel also along with me, like Jessica Catherine. They came after her too.
Holy crap!
People would click like on one of my posts, and they would like go to that person's because at first they just came at me, and I'm like, I don't fucking care if you like me. What the fuck? And then they came after Crystal, my wife, and she just like kind of like pulled away from social media. She hates it anyway. Like she can't stand social media, so she just pulled away from it anyway. And then when they realized that I just wasn't going to shut up, they tried to go after everybody that followed us. I mean, like we've had people try to like call animal control on our house and shit like that, all that shit.
What the dude? That's the best part about dealing with these morons and these idiots, particularly because like it's like for those of you that are listening and like you two fellas, if you've dealt with trolls or like back in high school, what they were called would be bullies before trolling was a term. The only way to deal with trolls is you just don't engage them, like you were saying, Alan. Like you just don't engage, like you don't respond, you don't counter, and then like because like they base their entire like engagement strategy as like if we're talking about like combatives, they base their entire engagement strategy off of getting you to continually talk and trying to emotionally rile you up so you make a stupid mistake, and then they can use that against you, and then it's just a feedback loop. So like the only thing to do is just like I don't care. Like you can be offended, you can be mad.
See, I disagree a little bit. Like I do this thing. I openly call it cultivating the trolls, because one, they're good for your engagement. Okay?
Oh, that's fair. That's fair.
They're good for your engagement, and especially on YouTube, YouTube doesn't care if it's a like or a dislike. It's engagement. They don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know that.
But they don't care if it's a like or dislike. It's engagement. They do not give a shit.
It's all the same value on YouTube. That's good to know.
Yeah.
So, but I also like I've done.
Do you mean on Twitter? Do you mean on Twitter or
I know. Well, Twitter, I just do it for fun. My Twitter is literally for fun. My Twitter is just to upset people and for me to rant on my shit.
I'm looking forward to following you. Then I followed you right before I got on here.
Yeah, that's literally what I do. Is I just kind of like I say what's on my mind and I go.
And you bully Lizzo, which is fun for me to watch.
Oh, yeah.
So
Lizzo,
she blocked me. Like
oh,
I'm like most of the Fed acceptance community has me blocked at this point in time. She's personally blocked me. Tess Holliday's personally blocked me. Like they just because like what can they say? Like they send their fans after me, and then when I fucking like play Donkey Kong with them and hammer them down a little bit, like I fucking because I don't care. What are you going to say? Because what I say about obesity and stuff like that is all true. And their only response is like, well, you're bald, like and shit like that. Like it's literally,
well, you're bald.
No, and I'm not shitting you. That's normally that's like their go-to. Bald, or they talk about my tattoos, as if I didn't like go to a tattoo artist. Yeah, as if I didn't go to a tattoo artist to have my tattoos put on and love them. Like I display them all the time. Like you're not gonna, and I have this thing like you're not gonna shame me for something that I'm not ashamed of. Like I can't shame anybody for being fat. Like if I say you're fucking fat, and they're like, I know, I love it. Then you're not. If you're not ashamed of it, like that's it. You're delusional, but you're not ashamed. But if I can talk about people being fat and it somehow offends you, it's fucking true, and you're ashamed of it. That's the fucking thing.
It exposes an insecurity big time.
Right. But with the trolls, I gladly fucking engage to the point where. Like I received, like at the beginning of the pandemic, I received tons of death threats. Like I was used to getting them from the Fed acceptance community, but at the beginning of the pandemic, I received tons of them, like a couple a day. and I would try to video chat the people. Like they say, I'm coming to get you on video chat. I'm like, hey man, what's up? You know, like I'd send them messages, like video messages, like because like they're like, what the fuck, dude? I live in
That's what he does.
That's what he does.
And by the way, they're probably not threatening at all. It's just like, hey, do you want to chat? And then
also they cave.
It's normal, like, you know, show up, make sure your family has their church clothes ready. You know, like because
you're going to a funeral.
Because you're going to be the star at a funeral. But you know, I just find it. I find the trolls like to be somewhat useful, especially now. Like in probably 2021, it was tough because it was just overwhelming and swarming. And with social media, especially Twitter, the way it was, a lot of times they could just fucking say whatever the fuck they wanted to you, and if you spoke back, if your account was already marked,
get swacked.
You would get swacked. You know, and to me. Now it's a different story. Like I have no resistance on Twitter. People don't even fuck with me. Like they don't. I mean, they like, and when they do, occasionally the fat acceptance people will come by. I just use them to further prove my point, and then they end up blocking me. Like I have been blocked by so many trolls. It's crazy. Like you've got eight fucking people following you for an account you made like, you know, last year, and you're blocking me because you engaged with me. I retorted back. And you don't want none, you know?
They don't want the smoke.
Society. Well, that's our society. I'm another big thing. We can segue this and this. How real is social media? Like, how real do you guys think social media is?
That depends on what you mean when you ask that. Do you mean real as how it's perceived, or the effects that it has upon people, or how real is it just in general? Is social media like a real thing that affect?
Is it a real representation of society?
No. Representation of society.
Yeah.
It depends on which part.
It depends. It really depends on the visibility that you have and the different like kinds of people that you're following, I think. But ultimately, I'd have to say that it's not an accurate representation. There's so much of society that is not active on social media, and like, and they might be active. They might be active on a specific social media that you're not active on, so you're not seeing what they're saying or doing.
That's kind of my frame point of it too. Because if we talk about a lot of these people, like there's very clearly, like I'm here on YouTube, but I'm not careful because I'm just waiting for them to take it. I've already got set up other places, but if you ask me, like things like body positivity does not live in fucking Twitter. Like no, those people post and they get fucking torched. Like I mean, torched. But if you even call somebody fat at all on TikTok, they delete your account. You know what I mean?
For real?
TikTok.
I don't have.
Oh fuck yeah, fuck yeah! I'm not even like I think my voice and my face are marked in their
blocked.
I'm not shitting you.
Aren't they a Chinese company though?
Yeah, but if you want to make people weak, you want them fat, motherfucker.
Yeah, because I was gonna say the first person I can think of to call someone fat is a Chinese mom. I'm not gonna lie. That is
but the algorithm is different for TikTok here in the West versus the one that's in China.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
That's the biggest. That's one of the biggest things. You know, like the one they want here is they want to propagate weakness, which is what it is. I mean, people sit and fucking woe is me all the goddamn time. Like, you know, I'm discriminated against because I'm fat. Like, what the fuck? You're actually fucking like. I can't stand that. That's the worst one. I saw somebody this week. I spoke about it. This person was like, I just want equal health care. Like, you want equal health care? If we gave fat people equal health care, they'd have less health care. Because I mean, compared to us, they get more. Like,
well, those,
we subsidize them.
I was gonna say, that's exactly where I was gonna take it, Alan. It's like the problem with that argument is that like there's two main reasons why healthcare is so expensive today. For those that are interested in the audience, or like Alan or Boz, if you guys are interested in looking into this, I recommend from like the mountaintops to the valleys to everybody to read the book Tailspin by Stephen Brill. He has analyzed a lot of the problems within America, and one of them is this healthcare topic, where the reason that I think in the 10 to 20 years that he looked at as far as his analysis, healthcare has increased in price by like 700%. And there's two reasons for it. One is the strict number of administrators that are now in hospitals and everything that are dictating that. But then the other one is the point that you brought up. The unhealthy and the fat obese class are causing the cost of healthcare to skyrocket because they're filling the hospitals with like needing procedures that could have been avoided by adopting a healthy lifestyle.
Well,
Like, as a student, I just briefly as a student, when I was at University of Iowa, I worked as a student staff with the operating rooms. 95% of the procedures coming through were all dealing with obese individuals, like hip replacements, knee replacements, gangrene because they're not taking care of themselves and they're literally rotting, or it's like a mixture of the three, or like stomach staples that got torn, or like they're getting like just oodles and oodles of procedures that could have been avoided.
The lower limb, like there's a lower limb amputation like every 4 minutes in America. Or
Yeah,
like that. It's crazy. Yep. Like, but Mike, you don't know that I was a healthcare executive before I did YouTube.
Oh,
I was one of the administrator people you're talking about.
Oh,
so,
but you can probably give credence to that. Like there's a swelling.
You should tell them why you quit. You should tell them why you got out of it.
I quit because it's not about health. I mean, it's all about money. It's all about money.
Symptom management.
And somebody even said monopolistic drug companies. The pharmaceutical is a part of it too. Like, we just pay, like the new statistic that came out is we pay $4.3 trillion a year in healthcare burden in America, shared healthcare burden. That's between insurance and taxes and some out of pocket, right?
Yep.
And that's insane when you consider that 90% of that cost goes to chronic illnesses and not acute injury. Like it's not an acute thing. Like so that even excludes people having a heart attack, by the way. Right. Like because that's an acute thing, right? Yes. This is chronic management of chronic and mental illness. So when you look at the chronic illnesses in their entirety, 90% of all type 2 diabetes is avoidable. 80% of all cardiovascular disease, 70% of strokes, 70% of cancers, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease shouldn't even be a fucking thing.
No,
I mean it literally shouldn't even be a fucking thing because that just means you've eaten like such shit for so fucking long. Alcoholic fatty liver disease shouldn't be a fucking thing either. So don't get me wrong, but people eat too much, drink too much, smoke too much. We spend about $3.1 trillion a year on healthcare as a shared burden, right?
Yep.
And that includes pharmaceuticals. When you consider that the model for healthcare 40 years ago switched over from preventative to pharmaceutical based, thanks to Rockefellers, 40 or 60 years ago, thanks to the Rockefellers. 60% of all Americans are on at least one medication to function daily, or to even just live daily. Like because some people just die without the medications. 40% of it, 40% of Americans are on more than two, or on two or more. I mean, that is like I've argued many times, and I have whole videos about this, and I'm waiting for one of the fucking main, like any of the like bigger podcasters to talk about this. That's a national security threat. I mean, it absolutely is. Like I talk about it all the time. The pharmaceutical industry could literally hold us fucking captive. I mean, they could be like, hey, sign over America to us, or you're going to watch 60 million Americans die in 2 months. I mean, they could easily fucking do it.
I'm surprised no one has done it. Sorry to interrupt you, Alan. I'm surprised no one has done a TikTok of something like this, because I travel a lot, as you know, and one of the things I like to do is go through people's medicine cabinets. Not because, not because you're actually curious. No, not genuinely. I wish it was that, but I want to see what people are taking. I travel across the world, and the U.S. it's number one. I open up a medicine cabinet, it is full. You go anywhere else in the world, and I'm not talking about someone poor. I'm talking about someone who's like well-to-do within the context of the wealth in that country. Open up the medicine cabinet, you might find one or two, and they might, and one of them will be a multivitamin. You're not going to find the same level of just consumption, and you won't find anywhere near the level of consumption of antidepressants.
SSRIs are such a problem.
It is
they don't, and
they don't do anything.
Depression's not linked to serotonin. Like it's what amazes me is about 2 years ago they came out with that study. Like it definitively shows in repeatable studies that serotonin is not actually linked to depression.
Yeah.
But yet we still are fucking dishing out SSRIs to even children like they're fucking chiclets. We're just like
they're just numbing people up is what it's doing.
Mm-hmm. And go ahead.
I was just gonna say shout out to Sheenie Beanie. You said she said, what did she say? Or they say, I don't know. If you think about it, insurance is something that you have and hope not to use. Yeah, there's a Chris Rock bit about this. Yeah. Insurance is just in case shit happens. So why am I paying all this money just in case?
Well, that's because stuff happens all the time now.
Right. Yeah. Now, yes. But at the time, right, you're paying these higher prices. And I wonder, it's interesting. I wonder if you could have seen that trajectory just happening anyways, of just prices just going up.
Oh, I bet you could.
You know, just the people taking over this stuff. The other thing I wanted to ask you guys, because you posed a really interesting question about social media and whether it actually reflects real life or not. I was going to ask you, what do you guys think social media has done in terms of its effects on relationships? Because I think
it's broken.
I think it's destroyed human relationships.
Yeah,
personally. But I'd love to hear what you guys think.
People like, are you talking like romantic relationships or just like interpersonal relationships?
All of it.
Here's the biggest problem with society. One of the biggest problems with society right now. There's no threat of getting punched in the face.
Yeah.
Because, and don't get me wrong, like if you guys meet me live, people in the audience that have met me live, I talk like this to anybody I want. I got a face full of scars. It's not like I've never been punched before, motherfuckers. But I'm at least going to say what I want, you know?
Yeah.
But too many people will say crazy shit and not have any ramifications for it, and they know they don't. Like they know they won't. Like that's why I kind of vacillate between like. Sometimes I'm very against anonymity on the internet. Like I'm very against being able to make multiple accounts because people just use that to terrorize other people without any accountability. But then again, I'm also a big advocate for free speech, and a lot of people are worried about repercussions and their voices won't be heard. I would argue though, like oftentimes, like we're reaching a stage in society right now where people are going to have to pick a side anyway at some point in time. Like, and I talked about this on my Twitter the other day. It's not about being left or right or conservative, Republican, based, woke, anything like that. This is about, do you want freedom or do you want to be a slave?
Yeah.
You know, because I mean, it's reaching that stage. Like, look what's happening in Hawaii. They are stealing these people's land. Like, I mean,
they're openly discussing that. Like that.
They're openly talking about taking these people's land. Just openly talking about after they, you know, at the very least, it is criminally negligent loss of life at the very least, because they didn't warn these people. They sent kids home from school and then didn't warn them. Like most of the dead are kids. There's going to be like they're like, oh, the 110 people. There's probably 600-700 people that are dead. Yeah. And you're not allowed to ask questions about what happened. Like they're saying that the bodies were incinerated. Just so everybody knows, speaking from healthcare, so everybody knows, the cremation of a body takes about 1.5 to 2 hours at between 1,400 and 2,000 degrees temperature.
That's not a wildfire.
That's not a wildfire. Okay. Like, and I'm not saying it was something else, but I'm saying if these bodies were actually incinerated, it was, I mean, that's an intense heat to be under. And then when you look at the surrounding areas, okay, so this house is obliterated. It doesn't even look like it burnt. It looks like it blew up more than that. But then like the house of the millionaire across the street and all the trees are perfectly fine. Like if it's 1,400 to 2,000 fucking degrees, the tree across the street ain't gonna make it.
Catching, yeah.
It's gonna reach the kindling. Like have some common sense, people. But they're openly talking about taking these people's land away. Like openly talking about taking the indigenous Hawaiian people's land away, and nobody's doing shit. And the problem, and I'll say this: Hawaii has massively strict gun laws, so they can't stick up for themselves. At all. So it's going to get to the stage where like people are going to have to pick a side at some point in time. I say this about the fitness people all the time too, like fitness YouTubers, because I used to be considered in that community. I'm probably still by many people. The channel name used to be Every Damn Day Fitness. Now it's Alan Roberts. But I didn't want to be associated with them anymore because frankly, most of them are fucking weak ass punk ass bitches. Yeah. Like they fucking, you know.
Tell me about this because I don't know that world.
most of them avoided like it's for before 2020. It was a lot of like talking about different diets and different this and different that, and where people would go back and forth about keto and go back and forth about CrossFit and go back and forth about whatever. Kind of like entertaining humor. Like I started as like a fitness comedian. You know what I mean? Like for real. Fitness satire. That's what I started as, right?
Yeah.
And then like what I saw, like about like 2 years before the pandemic, I saw the fat acceptance community coming, and I was like, hey, we need to wake the fuck up, because this is bad. Acceptance of this is not like, we should not hate these people, but we should very much encourage to lose fucking weight. We shouldn't be glamorizing like looking like a fucking sack of mashed potatoes. Like we shouldn't be glamorizing this at all. That's unhealthy for everybody, especially the younger generation, which is this is mostly aimed at, right? And then they tried to cancel me around like that. Well, fast forward to 2020, and I mean, I know you guys remember they were saying like, well, we need to do these lockdowns and all these things because even though you might not be at danger from the virus, we have so many immunocompromised people that are, right? Like, so that like we wanted to protect the healthcare system, and we had so many immunocompromised people that we were worried it was going to flood the healthcare system and people were going to die. Well, then I mean, I saw it was such bullshit, and I think I had a little bit more insight because I was a healthcare executive than some of the other fitness people. Like I knew when they talked about ICU percentages, that's all full of shit. That's all based off staffing. Like if you're 95% full and you add 3 nurses, you're now 80% full. Like that's literally fucking it. Like because you can, because then you can have a few more beds.
That's how math works. Yeah,
that's how fucking math works, right?
Yeah.
But a lot of these fitness people, to my point real quick, a lot of the fitness people just stayed fucking silent, dude. Like, I mean, they kept making their fucking normal videos, talking about the deadlift and talking about keto and talking about this, that. Like, we obviously have a very serious public health crisis going on, one way or the other. Like, whether it's
multiple different stacks of that public health crisis too.
Right, multiple different stacks. And instead of saying like, hey, maybe you should try to lose some weight so it's better for your immune system, or maybe like the only people I knew that stepped ahead, there was very few. Mark was one of them. That's how Mark and I reconnected.
I was going to say Mark.
Good friends.
Yeah.
Mark spoke up. Mark spoke up and said, hey, I'm not saying anything about anything, but maybe everybody should start taking vitamin D, because vitamin D deficiency is bad for your immune system. Such a benign, easy fucking thing to say, and they shadow banned fucking crazy. Like they shut off the traffic to his channel. Like just shut it off, Yeah. And I like the fitness industry. I don't have too much to do with anymore, because like frankly, most of them like stayed quiet like little mouse bitches about this. Like they didn't want to be canceled, so they just kept making their same normal fucking content, and they kept making the same normal fucking shit. They pretended like masks didn't exist, or even worse, a lot of them fucking made their own masks and like started selling masks to people, like stupid shit, like. And I have nothing for them.
I actually admire the ferocity and the capitalism there. That's like that. You know what I mean? It's like when the girls sell the bathtub water. It's like I don't like this. I don't like this conceptually, but I admire the game.
Well, and it's like Alan. It's even worse in my opinion. Going off of that even further is that like much of the fitness community, particularly with like tying back into Boss's question with regards to social media, it's all lies, all of it. Like, most of it. I would say probably 3/4 to 90% of it is lies, in the sense of like just like the imagery that they're using. Like we all know that this, like with social media influencers, they'll have like 1,000 different takes on whatever picture or video they've done, and then they'll post whichever one makes them look best. But then on top of that, like you got like the guys in particular and the women nowadays that are like juicing up, but then they're making it look like that just by following their workout program that they're selling, that like, hey, you'll look like me just by doing this. It's like, oh, by the way, I'm taking trenbolone in the background.
No, here's my take on a few of those things. Okay, the fake natty thing. First of all, you're dumb if you believe it. Okay, like, because here's the thing. Even if the person is on steroids, which is a huge, I mean, I just assume most people are, to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
But
really,
which is sad.
Oh fuck yeah! Like I mean, dude, these people make money off their bodies.
Yeah.
I mean, like people think The Rock isn't on fucking shit. Dude,
Yeah.
he fucking mainlines shit. Fucking, he's my age and carries 250 pounds of fucking lean mass.
It's a very rare body that can do that without pharmaceutical help.
Yeah, I mean, and he gets leaner and bigger and stronger every fucking year. You know, like what the fuck, you know? And you could say great genetics, but fuck, fuck that. But my thing is, I get people all the time because I mean I've got pretty it's like I've got good shoulders. People are like, well, how do I get shoulders like yours? Like fucking go back in time and start working out 38 years ago. You know, because like I've used DHEA and DIM before. You know, like so I don't hide that shit, and I'm definitely gonna fucking go on TRT the second my doctor tells me to go on. Like I'm immediately. You know, and it's not like it's not like I would feel the need to. And I'm not in that kind of fitness anymore, so it's not like I would feel the need to disclose my fucking personal private fucking information because I don't like say you can look like me ever. I coach mostly obese people to healthy weights. And I mean, I say all the time that like genetically, I'm kind of gifted in a lot of fucking ways, athletically and, and physically. But I just think that like people get in their head, like it's such a break in society. Most of society's fat as fuck, right? Like the average male as of 2018 was 200 pounds with a waist to height ratio of about 0.6. So Homer Simpson.
Christ.
You know what I mean? Like literally, like the average. And look around. The average.
Talk about national security threat.
Yeah, absolutely. It's another reason. But like the average American male looks like fucking Homer Simpson did when they first started The Simpsons. It's fucking true, right?
Yeah.
You're not going to look like me. Like if you're 30 years old and you look like Homer Simpson and you start now, you need to work really fucking hard to look like me.
For at least a decade.
Oh, for a decade. For a fucking decade. I mean, at least. And it just doesn't make sense to me for people to fucking believe this shit. It's like this delusion of fucking reality. Like reality exists. We need to get there faster. I say it all the time. But the fitness industry, besides that, like the ridiculous bullshit about the different diets and all like that, like just fucking eat whole foods. Like,
yes.
Like for the most part, just eat whole fucking food. You know, like
meat, fruit, vegetables. Like that's it.
Yeah.
Most
of these diets, the only one that I can say that I actually believe in that works for certain aspects is the vertical diet, but it doesn't work for weight loss and it doesn't work for health. It works for performance because it is an insulin spiking based nutrition program. Like they have you eat certain things at certain times, then you'll drink like 8 ounces of cranberry juice, like sugared cranberry juice, to spike your insulin at a certain time, like before whatever.
For like glycogen replenishment, you're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
so well, the insulin, like they're also in their mind, they also think that insulin helps you fucking like it builds muscle and shit like that too. That's why a lot. That's why a lot of
glycogen replenishment, sure, but
yeah. That's why a lot of bodybuilders die by accidentally overdosing on insulin. A lot of people don't know that either.
I didn't know that. Wow.
Oh, bro, it's this weird, crazy. Like I've been because I used to compete in fitness competitions back in college. This was way back when, and I got I dived deep into that world, and I saw a guy with like a bag full of insulin, and I was like, what the hell is that? I found out that that's a regular thing that they do, that they time, that they combine with things like IGF and HGH. Like there's this incredible, intricate system that comes with it. I'm curious to hear, Mike, what your thoughts on what you think this is all done on the interpersonal stuff and the relationship stuff.
As far as social media goes?
Yeah.
Cool. I'll talk on that, and then there's something I wanted to also touch on with like regards to health and national security too, with my military background. But I particularly think that social media has been aggressively unhealthy, specifically for the interpersonal relationships, not just the romantic kind, but like those with like closely related friendships. I think that like the obvious one for romantic relationships is just the access, skewing the viability for a potential partner or mate. Thanks to, this doesn't have to explicitly include dating apps, but like even something is like Instagram or Twitter, a lot of the dating app activity has actually moved to things like Instagram and Twitter. where people are trying to like cultivate relationships that way and like sending illicit pictures and everything else. But I think that because like one of the things about developing a healthy relationship back in the day, like as a millennial, I was lucky enough to experience things before Facebook became what it is, and then Twitter evolved. Your mate selection was strictly determined by your geographical proximity.
Mhm.
So like if you found out that you were capable of getting, say, we're all guys here, if you found out you were capable of locking down like the most beautiful woman in the area, like you treated her right, and she would likely treat you right. But nowadays, because we have all this access, it's like, oh, I don't care if like you don't like what I'm doing, like, and then we'll just end it and I'll just hop to this next thing. Like there's no cultivation of like a real relationship and having like the difficult conversations. Because like getting to like what I think, Alan, what you were bringing up with regards to like social media activity is nobody's having real conversations anymore.
Yeah.
It's all cultivation of an echo chamber, and that's spilling into everything else. And that touches on like the cultivating of just like healthy, strong friendships and relationships outside of the romantic setting. It's like I've actually been capable of like, say, like for you guys, for example, like we were capable of doing this thanks to Twitter. Like if you use social media properly and in a meaningful manner, you can make really real friendships and relationships that are really well like developing. But most people aren't doing that. Most people are going to like Facebook is just a cesspool now. Like you just go onto Facebook and it's just people.
I'm not even allowed to post on Facebook. So.
I would believe that from all the stories you shared just here today. But like I go over to Facebook and it's literally just people complaining about their shitty relationships. But then you go onto Twitter.
Imagine that. Me and my wife have talked about that before. Like if you're going to complain to the internet about your spouse, just get a fucking divorce.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Like because
you're looking
like,
for attention. That's all it is.
It's so fucking horrible. Like I mean, like, and the audience will tell you, like, I'm absolutely my wife is my wife, but she's my best friend. We spend all our time together. One of the reasons why we wanted to leave the healthcare industry is because we wanted to work together all the time. She's literally in the next room. We spend 24/7 together all the fucking time.
I envy that.
I'm so fucking happy.
He means that. He means that. Seriously.
Oh yeah. I mean, I like we have like she's my person. Like we said to each other, like she's my person, right? We met before the internet, and we fucking like seriously, like we would text, but that was it, you know. But we saw each other every day and everything like that.
P9 word, all of it.
Yeah. To get to the C, you had to click it 3 times. And but the biggest thing about it is like, you know, I don't have anything negative to say about her, but if I did, I'd never say it. But I will talk about her. I will talk about her online all the time because I think she's a genius. I think she's amazing. And I talk about that. You want to know one of the fucked up things is so many fucking dudes, so many young kids call me a simp because of that. Like my wife is first of all, my wife is a genius when it comes to fitness and shit like that. She's my actual physical coach. Like she writes my programming for me. You know,
that's badass.
Yeah, I mean, she's why I look the way I look at 52. Like, I mean, like 100%. And the crazy thing is, like, not even like my aesthetics is good, but I am in ridiculous shape. Like my gas tank is deep as fuck. You know, like I mean, I can go nonstop with like 15 seconds rest here and there on TRX workouts and shit like that. Like, and I'm talking 15, like every 15 minutes, take a 15-second rest to switch exercises for like an hour and a half. Like it's deep, you know, like she watches out what I eat. She fucking, she has me eat the right spices, right stuff. Like I take things like fucking oregano oil to help avoid colds and shit like that, because oregano oil has been shown to help be a great antibacterial and antimicrobial.
I did not know that.
Oh, like so many neat things. Like my skincare routine. People ask me about it all the time. It's like olive oil and castor oil and lemon balm oil. You know, I mean, that's literally what it is. You know,
so like Middle Easterners do. That's what we do.
Yeah, and like to the point where like I actually had a dark spot on my nose. I was worried it was cancer like a little while ago. Fucking, I started using this shit that she fucking put together for me because I told her, like, I was worried about it, but I also like I'm getting old, so I got like spots and shit like that. This stuff is like wiping them all out. Like she's a genius, right? But we met before the internet. Now, the friends I've made since then, like have come and gone. Mark is probably my best friend, my best friend besides my wife I've ever had. But I mean, we see each other live fairly often, but we talk by text communication more than anything, right?
Yeah.
But social media helps with that, but it's so rare to have a genuine, real connection with people, especially because these people don't they're able to act a certain way online that they aren't like in person. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And I find that to be just massively disingenuous.
Like a video game character.
Live action role playing.
Yeah. Yep. Like they really, really are. And I mean, that's not just the fitness people I've met, because and if you're watching, a lot of you guys are fucking fake as fuck. But you guys know who I'm talking about. You were fake because I've said they're fake as fuck to their face. But even just regular people, they're almost they almost have no idea how to deal with each other in person. Like, what happened to meeting people in going dancing and meeting people, or just going to listen to live music and meeting people and shit like that. And don't get me wrong, I still see it happening, but for the most part, it's just this weird, my wife and I love live music. We'll sit and listen to live music outside in Florida all the time because you can, right? People are more interested in posting about it online than they are of the actual fucking thing going on. You know what I mean? And I
you see the videos at concerts of the entire audience is recording it. I'm like, put your damn phone down.
And I found myself for a while before the pandemic, I found myself falling into that trap a little bit because this channel that we're on right now was cranking. I 275,000 followers right when the pandemic hit. I was getting 1,000 followers a week, every single week or more. I would launch a video and it would get 1,000 views a minute for the first 15 minutes. And then it would just go, right? But then I pissed off YouTube and the world by saying, don't be stupid and give up your freedom, you stupid fucks, it's cold. But
that was the end of that. I want go on.
But I gave that up when I realized okay, you know what? This is very fleeting. I don't need to post every aspect of my fucking life. You know what I mean? And
it's easy to fall into that trap.
It is. And more along the lines is I want my life is awesome. My life with my wife and my son is awesome, right? I want it to be awesome for me. I don't need to fucking share it with people. You know what I mean? I'm going to be selfish.
Nobody's entitled to seeing that stuff either.
Yeah, nobody's entitled to it. People, when you're a public figure, though, people act like they are.
Yes.
You have to set boundaries. You have to set boundaries.
So Boz, you wanted to chime in real quick. I wanted to touch on one other thing with regards to the national security and the health thing that we were talking about. There's because we touched on the pharmaceutical and the fitness industries, but there's a dynamic that not a lot of people are thinking about either, because to kind of bridge the gap a little bit along the fitness and pharmaceutical and national security problem is that I don't know if you guys have seen from the military, the different branches that we talk about, but 75% of the U.S. population could not be a soldier if we needed them to. There's a national security problem. But the other aspect that is actually upstream from all these issues is what industrialized monocropping has been doing to the nation. Because for listeners to think this through, the crops were growing.
Well, take a second. Can you explain that to people? Because not everyone's familiar with what that concept is.
Industrialized monocropping. So industrialized monocropping is, for those of you, anybody that fly, all of the flyover states in the Midwest, as far as Kansas, North Dakota, Nebraska, Iowa, where industrialized monocropping is where you're just taking a huge plot of land and growing a single crop on it. You're using industrial machinery to grow a single crop. Industrialized monocropping. The problem is that that's not a natural process as far as nature goes. Nature is used to rotating through different crops, taking over, dying, and then the different crops that grow, they have different nutritional makeups. You put the nutrients back in the soil. It supports and proliferates the mycorrhizal ecosystem underneath the surface of the soil, which is all the bacteria and all that stuff that helps break down minerals and everything down there. Because when we look at a root system, you need like a lot of that bacteria that allows plants to grow strong and healthy is right at the surface level of the root system. It's breaking down a lot of these compounds in order for the roots to actually take it up. They don't just like take it up because it's there. Like that doesn't make sense. The reason I bring this up is that because industrialized monocropping is doing this very unnatural process of a single crop over and over and over, it has destroyed the nutritional health of the soil to the point of where farmers require using fertilizers, herbicides, and pesticides in order to allow the crops to grow to what we need them to for yields. And this has destroyed the mycorrhizal ecosystem underneath the surface of the soil, on top of the practice of aggressive tilling, which exposes that mycorrhizal ecosystem to to the elements as far as like the sun, the wind, rain, and that causes the bacterial environment to continuously get destroyed. And on top of destroying the root system and increasing the density of the soil, which allows for more water retention. I go through all that because the soil health is destroyed so much that the nutrient density of the crops that we're growing, according to the work that Gabe Brown and David Montgomery has done, the produce that we're getting now has the nutrient density value is about 1/8 at 12 and a half.
That's why 12 and a half.
12.5% nutrient density compared to the food that was 50 years ago. And if you think about that, we're feeding those same crops to our livestock, which means that the livestock, like the chickens and the beef and everything and the pigs, they're all going to be like as equally nutrient dense as the crops that they're eating. And that's not even touching on the glyphosate problem.
No, like that's one of the only reasons why, like even though I'm partners with supplements, which by the way, I have an update on that for everybody here in a second. So I'm going to a couple minutes, but I'm partnered with them. Like I don't do performance supplements. Like I don't take pre-workout and haven't in years. Like I just don't. I'll take a green supplement. Like, and in fact, I got my green supplement right here. I take health supplements and green supplements. That's it. And like multivitamin. I've been staying away from caffeine, but
must be nice.
It's helped with my sleep a lot. I mean, I'm so ADHD that like I don't need any fucking. I need help sleeping. I don't need fucking help being this fucking crazy. I've got the crazy canceled. I don't or covered. I don't need the fucking help, right? But that's one of the reasons why. Like we grow sprouts in our in the kitchen and stuff like that too. We eat a lot of sprouts, stuff like that. Broccoli sprouts are amazing. They have anti-cancer fighting agents in them, by the way.
They're powerful.
Yeah. But like, if I the vegetables you get, like I don't trust that I'm getting enough out of them. So that's why I still take a I still take a green supplement. I still make sure that I'm getting my bases covered because frankly, you can't trust the produce. But, and real quick, guys, to what I was about to say. So I have good news and I have bad news to the people in the audience. The bad news is that I do think the pharma industry is actually fucking with us, and our delivery was delayed another day. It is finally on track to be at the facility probably today or tomorrow. So, but we will not be able to launch on Tuesday like we wanted to. This has been a 2-week delay because of shipping. Big pharma's, I'm telling you, they're fucking with us. But we will be launching Alchemy on the 29th. I will have a link for all of you that I will put out the day before. So right at noon, you can make sure you get your Alchemy. And it is an amazing supplement. I've been on it for a while. It has such an amazing effect of glycemic blunting, where it's like you can, even if you eat something that might normally make you hungry, you don't actually get hungry. I have no sugar cravings, no carb cravings at all on this. My hunger, but between No Morbidity and Alchemy, I literally have no physical hunger at all. And I am 2 years, 7 months, and 1 day since my last binge as a binge eater. So I'm very, very happy about that. That is the bad news, that we have to put it to the 29th. And I'm very sorry. I know many of you are going to be upset. There's nothing I can do, but it is what it is, right? I mean, like literally, they at one point in time, we were worried that like they lost our shipment. So it is what it is. I'm just happy they found it and it's on its way to the facilities for them to put up. Now, for those of you that are on No Morbidity or would like to try No Morbidity, I have a way for you to get a free bottle of it. We are going to have a Zoom call for about 100 and 150 people that will get a free bottle by helping us map it out on Amazon.com, because it is now on Amazon.com, and we're going to need your help in helping us get to map it out to make sure it gets put in their suggested feed. So I am going to release on Sunday, when I go live on Sunday, I'm going to release the link to help us by being on the Zoom call. It'll be me, Sean, Mark will probably be there too, like just everybody from Ambrosia. We can discuss the product, but we're also going to have all of you, click on certain search terms and stuff like that in Amazon to help link them to No Morbidity, and then we will be able to get you a free bottle of No Morbidity, or buy one get one free for No Morbidity for those of you. So I will be releasing that soon. So the bad news is 1 more week delay, because they are trying to fucking like actually make it so people have to take metformin instead of alchemy, because I personally believe it's better than metformin. But that's the bad news. But the good news is I'm going to try to get you guys a 2-for-1 deal, or even a free bottle of No Morbidity on Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern, so that's that. Now, where were we at? I needed to make sure I talked about that real quick.
I went on a rant about soil health and
yeah. You were a huge fucking nerd for quite some time, but you stuck the landing for me, because you blew my mind. I was like, oh wow, this has so many consequences, because I travel a lot, as you know, and the food tastes better in other places, and now I understand why, because literally the soil is better. The soil is better, and it's it's crazy because it's such a simple answer. I was going to say earlier, because I thought it was interesting with regards to the social media stuff, because social media is such a fascinating topic to me. And the reason why I was thinking about this is, I don't know if you guys have ever heard of a woman named Kiki Palmer, but she dressed pretty she's famous. Let me give the rundown. Sheenie Beanie, I have a feeling shout out to you. It's everything, probably the whole spiel, but she's a woman who was at a concert with Usher and allowed Usher to sort of engage her along questionable lines. And her husband responded by tweeting about the relationship, which I thought was totally out of line. You don't do that. You keep stuff like that behind closed doors. He did it anyways. Right. He's the father of her children. You don't do that shit. Right. And recently she just did a music video with Usher. So doubling down on sort of the quote unquote disrespect that she kind of levied at him the first time. And I remember seeing that and thinking to myself, you know what? Social media is going to be the end for social media. You can't have, because you're either posting nonsense like, I love my husband, happy birthday to him, right? And you're taking pictures of him, eating a birthday cake. I don't need to see that, right? I don't need to fucking see. It's a positive thing, but if you want to wish your husband a happy birthday, why don't you wish him a happy birthday? He's right there. He's right next to
it's virtue signaling.
It's literally, exactly. It's like, I don't need to know that. Or you're on the opposite side of the spectrum where you are just publicly displaying contempt. I can't think of another word other than contempt for your partner. And I don't know how you sustain romantic relationships.
Well, it's even worse than that when you look at what a lot of parents are doing. They're destroying the possibility of their kids having anonymity because they're documenting the entire development of their child.
Yeah.
It's like, you don't do that. Like, that's not right.
Yeah. Not to mention that, like, I mean, I can't, like, a lot of, not even just the kids, but like the parents, but teenagers being teenagers being able to document their lives online is not smart.
No, there's a lot of stupid shit that happens in those years. Like,
I mean, I'm very thankful that shit wasn't like, and I'm really thankful that my son doesn't like social media at all. My son's 23. He never got into it. He did Snapchat for a little bit, and now he thinks it's stupid.
He's a stud, man.
Isn't it pronounced Snapchat? Go on, sorry.
I think so. Yeah, I think so. Yeah. But I just find it like, it opens children up to so much ridiculousness. Where it's the same thing though. Like we don't. I mean, society, like a society that doesn't care about its children is doomed to fail. We're very much there.
Yeah.
I mean, very, very, very much there.
We're anti-children now.
Oh, we are. So much anti-children. There's so much unhealthy shit that they are doing and what to do to children. Like the whole trans, like like, I'm sorry, but you've got to be an idiot to think that the chemical that we use for chemical castration of pedophiles should be given to children to pause their fucking shit. Like that takes an extra level of dumb. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
But then you look at like the amount of child trafficking and like how people just aren't viewing this as like I'm all for like, we should be wood chippering pedophiles. Like, I mean, like I'm talking like just no need to get savage about it. Like a lot of people are like, no, we need to do this to them. Like just fucking like put 2 in their skull and let it be done. Like, I mean, like we don't need to devolve ourselves into animals, but to take care of the animals, we need to just fucking extricate the animals that are hurting children. That's what we're supposed to fucking do, right?
Well, like look at how many videos that just like, not to cut you off from your rant because I want to hear the rest of it, but like look at just how many videos are out there on social media of individuals taking it into their own hands, as far as like in neighborhoods where like you get these repeat offenders that like have already done time. They come back and they're already busting them by having like being in these Telegram chats where like pedophiles are sharing like other stuff with other pedophiles. It's like, no, like clearly there's no opportunity to rehab them. Just clean them out. I
mean, and people tend to think that I'm a little harsh when I come to this, but like we need to make hunting pedophiles great.
You're harsh. Do you know what happens to pedophiles in prison? Yeah,
the problem is that there shouldn't be prison for them. You know what I mean? Like,
because it's just an extra weight on the taxpayer.
Like, I mean, there's an extra. No, like how cruel is it? Like, okay, like this person rapes a child, and then the person's parents have to pay taxes to help support that person.
Exactly.
Fuck that.
That's not right. Like, that's not justice.
Yeah. I'll buy 2 rounds. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
what is that? Like $2 at most, depending on the size of the round that you're using.
That's what I think you should get out of me. Like I just find it to be this thing where we don't care enough about children to protect them from these animals. But if you look, I mean, there's that, like they're prescribing weight loss drugs like Ozempic and stuff like that to like 12 and 13-year-olds. To feed processed sugar to children should not be a thing. Like people don't even like, that's how far we are gone in society. Processed sugar should be viewed as a drug. And that drug is marketed to children specifically.
Yep.
And
for breakfast.
For breakfast. And it is so deleterious. Like it is like people are, that's one of the reasons why we came up with alchemy, because we've had so many people, like no morbidity actually stops like hunger. It really does. It kind of like blocks stomach hunger, right? But it doesn't stop cravings, and it doesn't stop insulin hunger or glycemic response hunger. So like people are like, I'm still craving sugar like crazy. It's because they're addicted to this shit. Like people are addicted to sugar.
Take some glutamine, it'll help.
Oh yeah. Do you know how many people, like I did this thing last year where it's like, it's the what you can cook on a grill diet. Like if you can't cook it on your grill, don't eat it. And they're like, well, what about pasta? Don't fucking eat it.
It's processed. Like that's how you
processed. Like, so it helps avoid processed food. There's a whole you got it. Like it's the whole thing about it. And people are like, well, but I can have a snack later. Like, how about you just like 15 days to slow the spread of obesity? No processed food, no processed sugar, no sugar at all. They look at me like I'm crazy. Yeah. Like the average person looks at you like you're not, like, oh, so no enjoyment at all? Like you're saying you can't enjoy food unless it has sugar in it.
Have you eat freaking bacon and eggs? Like you don't enjoy that shit, and it's gonna keep you full for a while with all those fats. Like
not
just
to
chill.
mention, like
almond butter.
Almond butter is amazing. I eat frozen berries every night, like a freeze-dried bag of frozen berries. I don't eat a lot of sugar, so they're just delicious to me.
I clementines like candy.
Oh yeah. But because they're nature's candy, they're nature's dessert. I always say that, especially for people that have problems with sugar. Have a piece of fruit later on the day. You might want to avoid a taste of sweet earlier on the day because it'll cause you to be hungrier.
Yeah.
But this, like, when you look at how we treat children just nutritionally, I mean, for fuck's sake, they're going to be selling Lunchables. Lunchables are going to be like cafeteria food now. They're cafeteria food now. Starting this year, they're cafeteria food.
So
like it's pathetic. And we as a society are so far gone with that because, like the three of us can sit here and like most people. And back to the social media thing, most people that we engage with online have very similar thought processes that we do, right? Yeah. But the average slub of fucking person in America that I'm talking like the 260-pound fucking 5'9" dude that fucking works a job he fucking hates, goes home, tries to have Yeah, like has a
even
has
the
a couple
dog
beers.
is chain smoking.
Yeah,
so
the wife,
He's chain smoking while holding like a 2-liter bottle of Coke.
Yeah,
Right.
the wife is getting home from her job too because it takes two incomes, and she's 225 pounds. The kid is fucking fat. Like the concept of having a morbidly obese kid, that's
Wild.
abuse. It's abuse.
At the very least, is neglect.
At the very least, it's neglect. I will always say that.
It's abuse.
It becomes abuse when you know it's a problem and you then don't do anything about it. That's when it's abuse.
Yeah.
And we just don't do shit about nothing. Like that's America's biggest problem. Like I don't even know. This always goes all over the place because my ADHD. When is enough going to be enough? Like when is it Second Amendment time? For real, like when is it Second Amendment time? Like Hawaii.
When the populace reaches a breaking point, which is the sad part.
I mean, what's happening in Hawaii? Like, wake up, people! They're like taking people's land. Like they burn.
The state's going to come through and buy it. Like the state's going to come through and buy it. Like you guys will be fine. It's like no, absolutely not.
They're removing the indigenous people who wouldn't sell.
Yeah.
So they can become a 15-minute city. They're talking about it. Like this isn't a conspiracy theory. They want to make it a AI governed island. They want Maui to be an AI governed island and 15-minute city.
That's also where they do all the chemical testing for like fertilizers and shit is on the Hawaiian Islands.
Yeah.
And like Obama and Oprah and Jeff Bezos, their houses weren't touched. Like
no, none of them.
Lady
Gaga, they all have houses on Maui. All of them, like right in that area. None of them were touched.
It was just the holdouts that had their stuff burned.
If you watch the aerial view of that, it's like mansion, decimated houses like across the street. Like mansion, it looks like their like landscaping hasn't even been fucking touched. And their landscaping is still fucking perfect. And across the street, it's decimation.
Oh, weird how that happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. You got to be dumb at this point in time. And you can call me a conspiracy theorist all you want. I've been fucking batting 1,000 for 3 fucking years being called a conspiracy theorist.
You and Andy Frisella.
Dude,
lots of people.
You just started following me. Go back to 2020 and check out everything I fucking said about the pandemic. Okay. Everything I fucking said. Because I know how to read fucking data. I came from the healthcare industry.
Yep.
At one time we did an interview with Alan, and we were looking at literal like scientific research live, and we were cut by YouTube. We weren't doing anything.
I believe that.
And by the way, we weren't doing anything crazy. We were just looking at what we were just reading. We were reading literature, and it wasn't like, oh, this is from some crazy obscure. This was the WHO. This was the World Health Organization that we were looking at. We were reading live, and YouTube cut us.
Yeah,
and I will never forget that.
One of my favorite studies, like when all that was happening, because I was one of the few on Twitter. There's just like on Twitter and on my Facebook, and I got throttled big time on Facebook, obviously. But I was just like, hey guys, here's this study from 2019 that stated that like this type of vaccine isn't advised to be used by the public domain because once it's in vivo, like it's unstable is what they labeled it as because they don't know where it's going to go. I'm like, probably shouldn't be taking this.
Well, the sheer fact that they knew that it was because it's really a treatment. It's not a vaccine, but they changed the definition.
Therapeutic,
yeah, it's a therapeutic. But once they realized that it was not, that it only suppressed symptoms, that should never have been put in a population because that is a breeding ground for variants.
Yeah.
Like so, they're like, no matter what they told you, people that just naturally got the coof. That wasn't going to produce variants normally ever. Okay, that's not what produces variants because the person develops what's called broad range immunity to it. A lot of times even down to T cell immunity, right?
Yeah.
But what happens with this is that the person's actually sick. Okay, like the person is actually sick. It's just a suppression of symptoms, which obviously didn't even work all that well anyway.
Becomes a breeding ground within their body for it.
It becomes a breeding ground for it, and the virus tries to find an evolutionary advantage to escape. So therefore, a variant is created, right?
New symptoms.
That's just new symptoms and like all sorts of stuff. Now, and also the scary thing about variants that they were trying to say is like, oh my God, it's a new variant. Like naturally, variants become less deadly, more communicable.
They attenuate.
They attenuate, yeah. I mean, it's just this stuff that people didn't understand. But I was trying to like say like that masks, are, like I used to teach a class on masks, on how to put one on and take one off. Like there's no, the second we didn't have a PSA about masks, I'm like, they're getting people sicker. Like, I mean, like it's so
RSV
bad, you know?
and the kids, back to like like treating the kids like shit. Like,
yeah. Well, when they were openly saying like we're trying to protect the kids, they need to take this vaccine. Like, whoa, motherfucker! Like they're at like no risk.
The kids are all right.
Yeah, they're at like no risk, and it doesn't stop transmission. It doesn't stop infection. So why the fuck why?
Because we don't care. Because I was reading a book.
Pharma runs the world now, dog.
Yeah. And so I was reading, and I'm sorry to interrupt. Lots of Red Bull today. I also have ADHD, so I apologize. But I was reading a book by Melissa Kearney, and she had a line, about it's the two-parent privilege. And you asked a really great question, Alan. Like, when does things happen? When do things change? Societal change doesn't happen, I think, in the pages of either academic journals or even with discussions from ours necessarily. I think it happens when the public engages with an issue and policymakers have the facts and evidence. And as long as we silo that evidence, as long as we make it inaccessible, as long as we do what we're doing now, that's why I'm not as optimistic as you. Ben, who's usually here, super optimistic. I'm dead inside. I don't see change. I don't see change without blood and violence. That's it.
Well, and the other thing along that, Boz, is that like with regards to the public having to be pushed to a tipping point, and using policymakers to really enact change, you have to have policymakers that are willing to do a change that necessarily doesn't benefit themselves as an individual. Because like we talked about this on my podcast to start up with a couple of veteran buddies of mine last night, where like this whole Oliver Anthony thing, like this song that has just like gone viral.
I talked about that yesterday too.
Yeah,
such a beautiful song.
Oh, yesterday too. Oh, dang. Well, this is a great little.
Oh no, I'll keep going.
But like the Oliver Anthony thing, the only reason that it's like not the only reason, but the reason it spread so far and wide and so fast is because it's representative of a serious problem that large portions of the population do identify with and understand, but like they've been shut out of the public domain conversation, right? Especially with regards to policy. And then like when he's talking about rich men north of Richmond, like people need to understand that he's not necessarily talking about anybody who's rich. He's talking about the people in DC, the policymakers that are doing things that the public does not want them to do. Like that's the important thing that people need to like identify here.
I completely agree with that. I partially talked yesterday is I'm waiting for people to like, that they're going to try to paint this guy in every possible horrible light, which is just disgusting.
Or try to co-opt him. Yeah. They'll try to buy him.
Yeah.
Which sucks because he looks like such a sweetheart, like just physically.
Well, I mean,
like, he does.
Like, he's turning down big money offers already.
Yeah. But, like 8 million was the latest one.
Yeah. 8 million or something like that. And good for him, $8 million is a lot of money to fucking turn down. But I think he realizes that he's a homesteader. So he's like, just off his iTunes sales, just off his iTunes sales, dude's set for life. Like his lifestyle is completely
ad revenue off YouTube too.
Yeah. And he's just absolutely loving it. Right. But I think it hit with so much. I shared a video compilation of reaction channels. Have you guys seen that?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
If it's the one I'm thinking of, if that's your video, that's like an impressive compilation.
No, it's not my video. I ripped the guy's video down and I shared it yesterday. But it shows like from young people like in their 20s to elderly people like in their like late 70s. It looks like. Yep. Black, Hispanic, white, like preppy, redneck, like everywhere in between. People just resonating with this song, right? That to me, like, shows that it's like such a systemic issue in our society that if you really look at it, like one of the reasons why, again, I think that social media isn't real is because it's very polar. I happen to be one of the very few people online that's like, I'm like, fuck Trump, fuck Biden, fuck all you fuckers. I'm a constitutional American. I want my freedom of speech. I don't want you. I shouldn't have to check with you about what gun I buy, what fucking plant I grow, I'm like, you leave me to
Amen
fuck
to
alone.
that.
You know, that's how I view myself, right? Because I'm not a big Trump fan. I can guarantee you this: I would vote for him over Biden on any fucking day of the fucking year. Because
Yep.
I mean, absolutely. I'm not a fan of how he handled the pandemic. I think he fucking I think he was
He
an
botched
idiot.
that one. Yeah.
Well, I think he showed extreme weakness, like you get elected because you fucking say that there's a swamp of people that you need to drain, and then shit hits the fan, so you hand the keys over to the swamp of people.
Yeah, exactly.
I do appreciate you're one of the few people that willing to admit that. By the way, not a lot of like people who support
But
the
it's
guy.
true. It's true. I would vote for him.
Well, he makes good business decisions. He's just
Yeah.
kind of a piece of shit person.
Yeah. Well, I just I think that happened too much with him trying to avoid getting canceled or avoid he was focused on his reelection instead of looking out for the country, because
That's another problem with politics.
As a newsflash, most billionaires are egomaniacs. And he's thinking about himself first. I know that's hard to believe, but But I don't think it's real life. I think that song kind of shows that like real life is like almost most people can fucking get along. Most people can fucking coexist. Like, I don't even think this whole the whole transgender shit with kids. I don't even think that that's a huge portion of people. I think that social media highlights the fucking cases of that, and they're fucking sick, evil people. They're fucked up,
Yep.
But I think most people are like, what the fuck? No, leave the kids alone. And I'm to the state where it's like, if you that's the kind of the line, like freedom, not freedom. You're going to fuck with kids. You're not going to fuck with kids. I'm not going to I would never stand by and watch a kid be abused. I'd make it my business, and I think that that's kind of lost on society. But then I see that video where these people and I'm talking people tearing up, getting emotional, listening to that. Because I the first time I heard it, I had no idea why I got choked up. But I literally got choked up. But it's like, holy shit! Like, not only is
speaking a lot of truths in that song.
Yeah, and it's just it's so deep. Like what he says. Like, God damn,
you can feel the soul behind it.
Yeah,
that's what really drives it home and gets the emotional response in everybody.
That's it exactly. But I just don't I don't understand why more people don't realize that we the people need to look out for each other, that we're all kind of in this together. And I don't give a shit if you're voted for Biden. I don't give a shit if you voted for Trump. I think everybody needs to realize that's kind of two sides of the same coin, and we need to do better or we're not going to make it. I still have a hard time believing, as you said earlier, I have a hard time believing that there's not going to be bloodshed. I think the most honest fucking thing about it, I think, is going to be that there will be states that make honest efforts to try to secede from the union.
Yeah, I agree with that. I actually wrote an article about that for my Substack, stating that the Civil War conversation or bloodshed conversation is actually an interesting one to kind of field, because if you look at the two main groups, which would be the politically charged left and the politically charged right, one of them likes weapons and firearms and the Second Amendment, and the other
and exercise.
Exercise. Yeah, if you like to work out, you're a fascist now. Which that article was actually 2 years old from CNBC, but idiots, they decided to.
Another one came out recently. Yeah.
Okay. But
they might have republished.
Yeah, I think they republished it. But the interesting thing is that if we were to get to that point, one side thinks that they're going to beat the other side that likes to stay physically fit and arm themselves, there's a disconnect here, because the military is also at an extremely weak point. I'm still having conversations with so for those that don't know, I was in the US Army. I was specifically in aviation, so I was an aircraft mechanic for Blackhawks, Chinooks, and Apaches. And a lot of there's quite a few buddies I still keep in contact with that are still serving, and these guys are they're trying to get into officer candidacy school, pilot school, going into other jobs and like moving up in rank and everything. But the military is still like putting down these ridiculous, like unnecessary standards, or just like making it difficult for them to move up. And it's like, you guys aren't in a position to argue here. Like, I get it, you're in the military, but like your quotas are complete shit.
Yeah.
And then so like if there were to be like some sort of armed conflict or something like that, like a lot of the military is Republican. Like, so like if we talk about like splitting the country, like I don't understand how one side thinks that they can actually win. Like I like there's no reality there. And like, and then the other thing that I also was considering in this article that I wrote for my Substack was that if
and what's the name of that Substack, Mike? Again?
Just hear me out. Alan had me plug it earlier, so just hear me out.substack.com. The name of the article is a geopolitical phase transition, and I mentioned how, since I don't think that there's a likelihood for a legitimate armed conflict or armed revolution in that way, because it would just be like it'd be like a cat, like if the Republicans were a cat just pushing a glass off the table. It's like, no, get the fuck out. But like I could see things where the US does have this kind of like, it splits into like multiple different, like almost like trade federations, because the coasts are largely left leaning, right? But then the middle of the country, where all the food and the energy is produced, is very Republican, very Second Amendment, very First Amendment. Like, it's just, I don't see how it's a fascinating conversation and thought exercise. But if there isn't a red wave in this next election, like there's something serious, very serious and very wrong going on, in my opinion.
Do you think there will be?
I think that there has to be. Like, that's the only way that they try to hold on to power. Like, it's the only thing that they can do.
So here's the thing, like I have a hard time believing there wasn't one.
Yeah.
So, and I'm not.
No,
and
that's the other thing too.
I'm not trying to say that it was a stolen election. Okay. What I am saying is we should be able to question that at any fucking given time. I'm saying that every election should be audited 100% anyway, because there are fucking elections. Like,
it only makes sense,
because you can't have a certain fucking portion of the population not believing in the elections, because then they're disenfranchised from the American dream, right?
Yeah.
But beyond that, right? The couple years ago, right after Biden got elected, the top 4 out of 5 songs for like 5 months were "Fuck Joe Biden, Let's Go Brandon," like literally. Okay, this is our music by independent artists, people that had no backing to them, people that had nothing like that. They were the number 1 songs. Adam Calhoun and Tom McDonald regularly, when they talk, get number 1 songs with independent artists with no backing from mainstream music, mainstream media, nothing like that. And like mainstream media won't even fucking mention who you are. They'll never be on the CMAs. They'll never be on the rap awards. They'll never be on any of this
stupid shows.
And NPR, nothing, right? But they still end up with number 1 songs all the fucking time, right? Yeah. Oliver Anthony, like his song skyrocketed globally to number 1. Globally, there already was a red wave. And I don't even necessarily mean Republican. I maybe mean like conservative, conservative, freedom-based wave.
Yes.
It was just very much suppressed with lies, if you ask me.
Yeah. Lies and technology.
Lies and technology. Okay. Because there's, and then the immediateness with how quickly it was painted that if you questioned it, you were like a terrorist, election denier.
Oh, that was my favorite when the FBI came out and they said the conservatives were domestic terrorists. I'm like, oh, great, cool.
Like that is it's unbelievable to me that like it should upset everybody. Like when they were saying that Trump stole the election in 2016, I was like, audit it. Audit this motherfucker. Like we can't have
let's find out.
Because I'm more of like a middle of the road guy. I went over what I would do, and it's even on my Twitter. It's on my Twitter, like the type of politics.
You're saying you're rational.
Yeah, I'm rational. I'm a rational human being,
which is rare.
Yeah, but I found it kind of fucking weird that when people they immediately make you pick Trump or Biden. They first of all, now you have us picking between 2 geriatric dudes, both with questionable histories around women. You know, like, I mean, and I'm not, and again, for all you Trump fucking fans, I'm not knocking him, but he's got questionable fucking, like, dude's cheated on every wife he's ever fucking had. Okay.
Yeah, he's
like,
still a douchebag.
Like, he's a billionaire douchebag. He did run a great economy until he fucking pussied out with COVID. I'm all for him. You know, it bothers me that he won't like that he won't admit the problem, that he still pushes the vaccine and shit like that. But that's a whole other thing. The biggest thing I think is that, like, what are we going to do about it? Because this gets into the weakness of America. When the average dude looks like Homer Simpson, they may not like it, but they ain't doing shit. Like, we have a world full of pussies. Like, there's a reason why I'm 52 years old and still considered a very masculine person. It's because the younger generation
you're stronger than a lot of the guys I know.
Yeah.
That's the other thing.
It's because the younger generation is not.
Yeah.
Like, I am built, and I say this all the time, I'm a little leaner than my dad was at this age. Besides that, he was muscularly much bigger than me. Like much bigger than me. Like, cause I'm not, I look bigger on camera. Like, I'm like 182 pounds from 5'9", right?
Yeah.
So I look a lot bigger on camera. I look like, but I'm like 182 pounds, 5'9", right? But my dad was probably like 200 pounds, 5'10", like fucking built bridges for a fucking living at my age, and fucking like,
oh, he's a rhino.
He could pick he could pick up fucking 300-pound bales of fucking of tie rods and fucking carry them across a bridge. Wow. Like, big ass motherfucker.
Yeah.
You know, drank beer every day, whiskey on the fucking weekends, fucking like a country boy. Like, but now you look at the average guy my age, they're on like 6 medications. They can barely get out of the fucking chair.
Can't even pick up 50 pounds without throwing their back out.
Right. And then you look at the younger generation, like, the average testosterone level of a 20-year-old right now is that of a 70-year-old from 20 years ago.
Yes.
That's a fucking problem.
Massive.
Like, that's a massive fucking problem, because I bring this up all the time too. We're going to, like, Elon Musk is right. There's going to be population collapse.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which means economic collapse, because if you have less population, you have less consumers in the economy buying less shit. That means the businesses are getting less profit, which means they have to downsize, which is like an interesting conversation around AI. It's like, you guys can not like AI all you want, but like, we're going to need it if we want to avoid it.
We're going to need it. We're going to need it at some point in time, because the thing that will happen, like right now, morbidly obese people that are in their 20s, most of them have been, like, it's not like when we were younger. Sometimes people got obese when they hit their 20s and they got on their own, they ate too much and everything like that. But most morbidly obese people right nowadays that are in their 20s have been morbidly obese more than half their life already.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So they're going to live about another 25 to 30 years. So they're going to hit 50 or 55 and either be so debilitated or dead. They're going to be so debilitated that they cannot function in society, they can't participate in society, or they're going to be dead. So when they die off at 55, and the people from my generation are dying off in the average age of 75, because the average age of life expectancy has gone down, even though we spend $4.3 trillion a year on fucking healthcare. So that means that a large portion of 2 generations at the same time are going to be dying.
Yeah.
And we're not hitting refillment rates for children. That's population collapse in 20 years.
Well, and there was a thing I wanted to touch on your last rant, Alan. Boz knows this. I engage in Twitter Spaces conversations on the regular. Like, it's almost like an addiction. I've been working on like curtailing it a little bit, but there's been a couple conversations around like all of this kind of like macro doom porn, and in one in particular, there's an individual in the Spaces that was just like, okay, like that's great. We're talking about all like the negatives that are happening, but how do we fix this? And I was like, well, the parents have to fix it. Like, the parents have to be the one to fix this. And like, I knew I was right, because the entire room was pissed off as soon as I said it. Because they're like, no, like parents are already doing enough.
You want me to raise my kids?
Yeah.
But how?
I was like, guys, like the fact that you got this pissed off tells me I'm correct, because I'm sorry, but like, parents are the biggest participant in an economy as far as like economic decision making, where your money is going. And then you guys are like, parents are also like, they're the ones that are raising kids to be, they're supposed to be raising kids to be like efficacious members of society, which like we're just not doing, because we're like we've discussed, we're raising kids that are obese. We're raising kids that are raised more by an iPad or a computer screen than they are by their own parents. And then you've got the whole problem with American education system being just it's an indoctrination funnel. That's all it is. Because like, I can't tell you how many things I've learned about American history in the last 4 years that I was never taught. Like one of my favorites to bring up is the fact that the Ford Motor Company was building engines for the Nazis.
Mhm.
They were building the trucks for the Nazis, and then we used our own military operations. I think it was Market Garden where we went through and bombed the assembly lines that Ford was using to build the Nazi trucks. Like that's something I would have liked to know, like growing up in America, because like you get like raised up on this fantasy and this dream that America is this perfect system of freedom and patriotism, and then as you grow up, you like that dream gets continuously knocked back. It's like, no, we're not perfect, we're not like all this other stuff. And I'm not suggesting that like I'm some sort of self-hating American, but like we need to be raised with like a honest...
I take it the other way. I think that that you love America.
Yeah. Like you have to know the problems and acknowledge the problems in order to fix them.
Mm-hmm.
But like
exactly.
that gets back to the problems with society in the sense of like how many participants nowadays, millennials, Gen Zers, boomers, just they can't handle getting truth. Like they can't handle it because it shatters their
trust me.
It shatters their worldview, and their political affiliation is like their identity. And it's just like, no, guys, like you don't make these aspects of you an identity. Like being a Republican or a Democrat should not be part of your identity. Like,
can I ask a question for you guys? Does this all just come down to narcissism?
Nihilistic narcissism is what I call it.
Like the fact that you can't be questioned, that you might not be a great parent, or you might make mistakes as a parent, or hey, as a nation, you might have made mistakes. Go on. Yeah,
I don't know. Like I to me, that's like
cowardice.
It's cowardice, because like people would have to admit their shit. Like people would have to admit that, like, let me tell you, like that's for the weight loss I do, that's the biggest part about it. Like I regularly will pull up an old picture of me and say how I hated myself. Like I'll pull up a picture of me from when I was fat, because Mike, you don't know, I've lost like 100 pounds. I kept it off for a long time.
Holy shit!
But I will openly talk about how I'm better than that person. How that person was like that person lied to themselves, lied about their food, lied openly in the mirror every day, thought that they were okay. Like, and I would block out the mental image of anything possibly bad happening until bad shit started to fucking happen.
You'd avoid the mirrors.
I was also powerlifting at the time, so I was built like a fucking tank. So like I was able to focus on, I have to turn sideways through a doorway because my shoulders don't fit. You know what I mean? Like I was able to focus, but that's also bullshit lying. Like that is also lying to myself. You know what I mean? And so I think that's it. I think that people don't want to, like, we live in a society where everybody thinks that they need to be perfect all the fucking time. And so instead of actually trying hard, instead of actually trying to be the best version of yourself that they can, people just proclaim their perfectness. Like people like Lizzo, I am now the body standard. Like,
no,
you look like a fucking melted candle. Like, what do you mean?
You're generating your own orbit. Like, are you kidding me?
I mean, it's just ridiculous shit that but I think that a lot of our society is in that because they care too much. Like the whole concept of cancel culture in the beginning was social media based. People didn't want to lose followers.
Yep.
People didn't want to lose their fucking clout. Now it went farther and went into people started reaching out to people's bosses and stuff like that. But it started off with like, they would just like cancel the person. They would all unfollow them. Like, and people like were so fucking upset that it curated what they said. And I again, I didn't talk before 2020. I didn't talk about politics at all. I didn't talk about politics. I didn't talk about my healthcare background all that much either. I didn't talk about any of that shit. And I didn't talk about I didn't talk about my political beliefs because I've voted all over the board. I voted for Obama. I fucking voted for Trump. Like I voted all over the fucking place, right?
Again, rational.
Yeah. But I didn't talk about it at all because I wanted to, it was a business, and now the business is also my thoughts on this stuff is actually part of the business a little bit too. But
yeah,
I mean, I think that's the biggest portion about it. Like people want to avoid being canceled so bad because they give so much power to other people's words. You know, like
And other
I've
people's
been,
perceptions. Yeah.
yeah, I've been called racist, fat phobic, this like transphobic. Like, okay, what now? Okay,
yeah.
if that's what you like. Like one of my friends is Blair White. How transphobic can I fucking be? Like literally, we text all the fucking like we talk on fucking Twitter. You know, like how like, she's been on the fucking channel. Like
Well,
I mean, like if we're
there's
ever in
any-
town, if ever we're in town, my wife and I are going to take her to dinner. You know what I mean? Like how fucking transphobic can I be? I get called a racist all the time. My business partner is Mike Rashid and CT Fletcher. Like how the fuck? Like
I mean, I think personally you're very racist. That's why I'm here mostly.
That's why I'm here.
Yeah,
I got to bring the token on. You know. Like,
yeah.
so,
Look. Yeah, you know. So that's why I come, because I'm like, that Allen guy, super racist. Love talking to him. So,
but people are so afraid of getting labeled as these things. Like, and they try to make sure that they give these words power. Like fat phobia is the dumbest fucking word ever. Okay. First of all, there's not an irrational fear of being fat. Like, because you should be scared of it.
Yeah.
Because it is factually bad for you. So there's no irrational fear of it.
Just look at the list of comorbidities of being fat.
Yeah.
Like it should terrify you.
And when they go like, well, you just hate fat people. If I hated fat people, and I say this all the time, if I hated fat people, I would encourage you motherfuckers to eat more.
Yeah. No shit. Like when you like if I hate along those lines, as if I hated fat people when I was managing gyms, then why would I be the one going up to them and telling them, hey, you're doing a great job. I want you to keep back coming. Because like the fat people in the gym that are working on themselves, they're the inspirations, because like I don't know what it's like being fat and then getting into like shape, because I came from the exact opposite spectrum. I was extremely skinny because of my metabolism and everything. So I had to work into, and it's like, it's the same problem from different ends of the rope. Right. But we wouldn't be going into these gyms and telling these like the fat people are the ones that are inspirations, because they're fighting all sorts of demons and insecurities. Like it takes a lot of mental effort and willpower to get in there and do the work.
Absolutely. I mean, it 100% does. And that should be celebrated. Like I have this thing, like, I mean, if you're trying, I'm your biggest fan. I'll do fucking anything I can to help you. But if you're not, you're part of the fucking problem.
Yeah, exactly.
Like if you're one of these people that like, I'm 300 pounds and I look gorgeous the way I am, like,
no,
it's very unhealthy for you to even think that about yourself. You know, because that, like, if you think you're perfect when you're 300 pounds, there's no incentive for you to truly change. And there's going to be some portions of weight loss that are not fun. You're going to be sore. You're going to feel like you're missing out sometimes. It's not going to be fun. You're going to be hungry sometimes. Like the very if you think you're perfect as fat, you're not going to want to put yourself through this bullshit. You know, like you're just not going to. It's very unhealthy to be telling that, especially to a younger generation of people. But that's another thing too. Like that's where it's all aimed. Like older fat people, for the most part, no, it's not good, because most of them, by the way, were not always fat. Like most people that are 60 years old that are fat, no, it's not good, because they weren't fat their whole life, because they wouldn't be 60. But now these people have been fat their whole life and they're like, I'm perfectly fine. Like I can hear you breathing across the fucking room. You're not fine.
Yeah, you literally walked from the parking lot to your car and you're wheezing.
Yeah. You slur your B's. That's that's the indicator. Yeah.
And I think that like all of this is geared towards this, like the biggest problem I think we have is this next generation. Like the generation of people that are 30 and below right now are massive. Like they are the sickest generation of people ever, mentally and physically. The amount of chronic illness, like the wave of type 2 diabetes that is coming, is biblical. Like, I mean, people have no idea how tragic it's going to be 5-10 years from now, when like the body positivity movement is going to be much more about like, hey, I had to have a lower limb amputation. Like, let me accept this.
Well, Alan, Boz, you're already stressing out. Like, if you look at the CDC's numbers for diabetes and pre-diabetes, it's 40% of the American population.
And those are from 2018.
Yeah.
The CDC hasn't updated any of their data for anything but COVID since 2018.
It's got to be, if it's not 50%, it's got to be 60% at this point.
I bet it's 50%. I bet it's 50%. Pre-diabetes, I bet you is in the 70 percentile range. I bet you 70 to 80% of the population has some sort of metabolic dysfunction.
Yep.
And when you look at like the cost and all like that, that's one thing, but people do not understand how fucking horrible this is. People act like society is like people act like in society diabetes isn't a death sentence. Like it like, oh, they got the diabetes. Oh, they got the diabetes.
You understand
what
what happens if you don't amputate that leg? The necrosis that takes over and the sepsis that sets in?
Put that stuff aside. I've talked to my cousins. They're all doctors. We're first generation immigrants. That's what we do. We're doctors, lawyers, and then I'm the loser.
You racist.
That's a little bit. I'm a loser because I'm an engineer in my community. So that's how it works. But I've asked them what happens to people, and they've like showed me like pictures of what happens to you. Of what just what happens on a cellular level. They'll show me this is what it looks like when you have this disease. Oh, you have diabetes? We have to change everything. We have to change the entire approach. It doesn't matter what illness it is, right? It could be something even more rudimentary. You have to change the entire approach just because that person has diabetes, and that's why that stuff breaks my heart, honestly. Really.
So this person asks, will Ozempic change those numbers?
No.
Because
it's not a solution, and that's what I was telling that to a friend of mine that does sell side research for Wall Street. Like she's like, well, Ozempic can do this. I'm like, no, like besides the fact that it's a pharmacological solution for a physiological problem, like I mean, I even just use the word solution and it's not correct because it's just masking the problem. It's not providing an actual solution. Like the solution, one of the biggest solutions that we all know is like just physical fitness and improving like your physical health. But like what's even worse is that, like Alan, I'm sure you can give credit to this, is like whenever you use a pharmaceutical product to try and mask a problem or even as a solution, it causes downstream effects that become problems later. Like so,
absolutely. Yeah. Go ahead.
Ozempic, like they can make any sort of like wonder drug that they want, and Ozempic is like also not going to be a solution because people are using it not for a diabetes solution, but just to lose fucking weight. Like look at because like that's what Elon Musk and Kim Kardashian were doing. They're marketing the drug saying it's a great like fat loss drug. Like, no, absolutely not.
A few things about it is like the downstream effect is where like we have no idea. Like they're telling people that they need to be on this drug forever. We have no idea what it's like for a person who will be on Ozempic or Wegovy for 5 years. None. I have a hard time believing that something with such deleterious side effects that this drug has that is going to be long-term good for your body. I just have a hard time believing that. Also, they increase insulin. So the concept that like they increase insulin, which is very strange to me, that people like because that also can lead to more insulin resistance, right? But we're looking at people like having pancreatitis, people having suicidal ideation, like all these things. And the biggest issue I have with it is they've pushed it like, and I, by the way, you can check, like when you're checking my Twitter feed, I called this in 2022 that the push for weight loss pharma and weight loss medication was going to be the new vaccine. Once the vaccine started losing it's like novelty and people were like being like, hey, maybe we shouldn't be fucking doing all this shit. But they got people used to getting injections all the time. Like it was like a mental thing that like it broke the barrier of like pharmaceutical first. Don't worry about natural solutions. Don't worry about anything else we've had. We need a pharmaceutical solution and it can be an injectable. And now there's a weekly injectable weight loss drug that they're pushing heavily.
Technology is the solution. It's like, no.
Right. So, but I have a hard time believing that these will. Yeah, somebody said, "Yep, I did." I've called some. I need to get a shirt that says "I told you so." But the problem with these drugs is that like people are taking them without actually altering what they're eating now and just thinking that they're going to work because it's billed as like, oh, it does the work for you. I was just talking to one of my business partners about this. If you take a look at the data from the Wegovy trial, the most aggressive weight loss that they had was in the first like 4 or 5 months, right? And that's when most of the time they're so nauseous they can't even fucking function.
Oh, fantastic! That's
good. So that means that is it the drug or is it that they're just not eating from being nauseous,
which is slowing down their metabolism?
Right. Which I have got like 5 or 6 clients that are on Wegovy and Ozempic because I don't turn anybody away. I'll help anybody, but like they're all on an anti-nausea medication too.
Jesus
like
Christ.
they get
It's a
prescribed
conversion funnel for other pharmaceutical drugs.
It absolutely is, and it doesn't even like people are gonna have issues with their pancreas. People are like, I have a hard time believing that this is gonna get metabolized well through the
Got a pill for
pancreas to
that.
begin with, and they'll have a pill for that. Absolutely. So, I mean, I don't think it will actually help. I think that if we want people to really help, and that's why and I get the other response real quick. So I'll finish this up. The other response is that people are like, well, you don't like Wegovy or Ozempic because of your supplements you're involved in. First of all, I do believe that no morbidity and alchemy together would destroy Ozempic or Wegovy in a head-to-head study. And I mean fucking destroy. We've got clients that have lost 180 pounds in 10 months.
Especially if you're using them and working out.
Yeah. Well, because we couple ours, and I say it all the time, like these, hang on.
Product plug.
These are tools. They're just tools. They are tools to help diminish your cravings, diminish your hunger, help with stress relief, that sort of thing, help with insulin resistance, help with blood sugar regulation. They are tools for you to then gain control of your eating habits, your hydration habits, your sleeping habits. We made No Morbidity it's 3 capsules in a dose. And the reason being is once you feel that you've lost your weight and your habits are good, you then go down to 2, you then go down to 1, and then you go to none.
You wean off.
You wean off it because we want there to be I don't want a client for life. We made these to try to help people get healthy, because even if I didn't have empathy and wanted to see people get healthy, I see the world in a very realistic light. We cannot maintain this level of chronic illness.
No.
And not be fucked.
Yeah. Yep. There was one thing I wanted to touch on too with regards to all these problems is besides the cowardice of where all these issues are coming from, it ultimately boils down to people having an aversion to change. There's one rule to reality in life is that nothing is static. Everything is constantly in flux and constantly changing, and people are going through life wanting and trying to avoid having to change any aspect of their routine or their daily life. Mm-hmm. It's just that's not how the world works. If you want a different outcome, you have to change what you're doing.
Hashtag you got to be about it.
Yeah.
That's another one of my hashtags. You got to be about it. I can't be and don't get me wrong, I don't expect anybody none of my clients normally end up looking like me because I've been an athlete most of my life. I'm gifted, blah, blah, blah. But I have to stay in shape. You know why?
Yeah.
It's what I fucking do for a living. You got to be about it. Not to mention that, but I talk about and I posted this earlier, a lot of people should be training their freedom's on the line. People should be physically training and eating in the way that they think that they might have to defend their freedom, because true.
And that's less than 1% of the population that has any experience as far as being enlisted.
Oh yeah. It's very, very small. And I see a lot of Billy Bobs who talk about oh, don't come around my town. Dude, eventually you're going to have to leave your house. Okay. And not everybody's a sniper, motherfucker. I don't care how far away you got a deer. I don't care if you got it from way over yonder in the field, buddy. If it gets down to the brass fucking tacks, you're going to have to be tactical and move.
Yeah.
If
emphasis
you're
on the move.
Yeah. And if you're 250, 300 pounds, you're a big ass, slow ass target. Big ass, slow ass target. You're going to be winded. You're not going to be able to keep up with anybody. People don't understand. And that's you pointed out another thing too. People don't understand the tactics that would need to be involved. Could the American people rise up and win against a tyrannical government? 100% of the time, because there's so many of us and there's so few of them. And just like you pointed out earlier, a huge portion of the population of the military would not partake.
Yeah.
And, they would not enslave the American people. I refuse to believe that. And we also have the local sheriffs and everything like that, which are also act as the military. Yes, we could if we wanted to. Would a lot more people die because of the state we're in? Oh yeah. We would lose. Because the first thing they would do is what I was talking about earlier. They could just shut off the pharma.
Yeah. Shut off the pharma and then shut off the power and then
shut off the pharma, shut off the power. I know. Do you know how many people don't know how to friction start a fire?
Probably 99.9% of the population.
It's insane to me. I taught my son how to friction start a fire when he was 6. I have a keychain that has Yeah, it has a flint and about 50 feet of paracord wrapped up.
Okay.
In it.
Yep.
And I'm like, my wife and I could and I always have a knife on me, always, at least one. But and boom, boom. You know what I mean? But, we could disappear into the woods and be fine. Like, I mean, I like the deeper the woods, the better. Let me find water. We're good. I can fucking post up.
Yep.
Most people, like, I live in Cape Coral, Florida, in case you didn't know. We had that hurricane last year. We didn't have power for like 3.5 weeks, right? My wife and I were on vacation. Like, this is no shit. Like, I just cooked on the grill. We kept the freezer closed, so we had food for like a week and a half, and then we cooked from dry goods. We didn't even need to go to the fucking store. We had plenty of fucking water stored up because I'm not stupid. Like all sorts of shit. And we just cooked on the fucking grill and ate. Like, we were eating like fucking steak and chili and like everything I could. We had so much good food, right? Read books. It was like I'm a 365, 14 hours a day most of the time work person because we own our own businesses. It was amazing for us. But people here, one of the reasons why we want to move to the country now, because people here were freaking.
Oh, yeah.
They were freaking out. And the worst part about it is you could literally drive over a fucking bridge and they had power. You know what I mean? Like we ate at restaurants across, like during that time, we got showered up and went across, had a restaurant, ate at a restaurant that they had power and came back home. Like, but people were tripping. Imagine that being the whole Eastern Seaboard, right? Like
there would be bloodshed at that point.
Oh my God. Yeah, absolutely. Because people are not ready and they don't want to be ready. They have no idea. Like, picture some of these people. Picture some of the fucking people you see on social media. Picture fucking Jordan Peterson having to fucking take care of himself if the power went out. Like, he's somebody's serf, like almost immediately. Like, I mean, that's a huge portion of the problem too. The people that we're listening to, like, I'm about to knock on a bunch of people. Like, Ben Shapiro should not be a voice for conservatives. But and my reasoning being is he was pushing the vaccine and he's a pussy. Like, I mean, he's a wimpy fucking human being, like, I mean, he does not command strength, like
all bark, no bite.
Yeah. Your words are beautiful until I knock your fucking face in. You know what I mean? Like, like, and nothing against you, Ben. Like, I'd like to be on Daily Wire sometime, but even though I think you're pussy.
Well, and it goes back to the cowardice of because I've had conversations with him, particularly back during when the pandemic was happening. Like, I was talking about a lot of the issues that I was seeing, and some of my subordinates when I was a manager for a gym, I would talk about the issues that I'm seeing, and they're like, "Doesn't it freak you out learning all this stuff?" I'm like, "No, what are you talking about? I would rather know about this shit. I would rather know about this shit and know what the reality is happening than avoid it and pretend like it's not happening just because it shouldn't make you uncomfortable to learn what's actually happening in the world. If that makes you uncomfortable, that means that you're not prepared to handle what's coming and that you need to fix yourself.
Well, I agree. We'll end it on this because we'll do a whole roundtable about this real quick, and then I got to go because we're way longer than I normally go. But I think when people learn about the world, part of the thing that they don't like is that they realize America's not necessarily the good guys.
Yeah. We're not angels like we were raised up to believe.
Like that was a hard thing for me to realize. Right when I started coaching, I coach globally, and I used to do these lives at 5 a.m. So my audience was a lot from overseas, from overseas, right? We're not the white hats that people think we are. We're truly not like the heroes of the world. In fact, most people would prefer us to mind our own fucking business,
which I think makes sense.
Me too, to a great degree.
And that's what a lot of the PTSD comes from is the soldiers realize oh, we're not champions of freedom like we were told.
No.
Are we the baddies? Yeah.
Ask people in Haiti what they think about America.
Yeah.
Ask people down, and that's we were gonna take a cruise to Haiti, and then I did some research. I'm like, oh no,
just kidding.
Oh no. I feel bad for what we did, but I'm not gonna put myself to be the one that they take it out on. I think most immigrants know a real side of USA. The Haitian here, yeah. I mean, people we're not we're not viewed how people think we're viewed at all. I mean, we're viewed as very tyrannical and very like we're trying to control the world, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, meanwhile, I think we're a big fucking puppet for the fucking elites. But
yeah.
So where can they find you guys?
For me, at African Hodl on Twitter, also hosting Raisin Bread Talk. That's a podcast that we do on YouTube for as long as we can. Who knows how long that'll last? But yeah, that's us. That's where you can find me.
For me, this is going to be for on Twitter is at the Mike Hobart, TheMikeHobart. And then I have the Substack, like I plugged earlier, that Boz brought up, justhearmeout.substack.com. And then the other podcast that I'm co-hosting is called Bitcoin Veterans, which that can be a whole other conversation to have.
Yeah. So, Mike, it was great having you. I'd love to come back on anytime.
For sure, man. Just gotta let me know.
We normally do this every Friday about this time. So come back on anytime. I'd love to be on. I'd love to be on not the Bitcoin thing because I'd sound like a stupid idiot. But I'd love to be on your other shit. So, guys, thank you very much for joining. And again, just so in case you joined late, due to shipping issues, Alchemy will be released the 29th. But I will release I'm going to go live on Sunday, and I will be sharing a link for a Zoom call for everybody to join us and help map out No Morbidity for Amazon. And you can get a 2-for-1 deal, a buy one get one free deal on No Morbidity via that Zoom class. So please do join us. I'm looking forward to it. I hope you all have a great day. God damn.